All right, we're gonna go work on that hay field some today, the new one. I don't know if the hay I cut yesterday is gonna rake or not. We had a really heavy dew last night, and I didn't get it cut late, so I mean, you might as well have cut it this morning, as late as I got it cut yesterday. So we'll just have to see how that turns out. But I went over this morning and looked at that field because we haven't had much in the way of large amounts of rain in 2.5 weeks, something like that, before Rantoul. I think actually our last big rain was the night, it would have been back during fair week, so the week before Rantoul. I think our last measurable one was the Wednesday before, maybe. I figured, you know, surely it's dry enough to do something with now. The tee's dualed up, we'll just use the tee. And I went over and looked at it, and the pond got bigger. And in order to sneak down closer to it, we're just gonna use the white. Stay on top, don't cut any ruts, makes things easier to keep it level. So we are gonna pop the duals off the tee here at some point because I want to use it to bale. So disc it, and then get done disking it. Gonna have to come back, grab the 1600 and the bucket, and go over and pick up any sticks or roots I pulled up along the wood line. And then we'll field cultivate it to try to level it up better. Because my biggest, normally you wouldn't have to work it as extensively as I'm working it, but it was so screwed up and I had to move so much dirt to level it back up, and there's still little pockets. So I think between disking it 3 times and then running over it with a field cultivator at least once, I think we'll be in pretty decent shape. Maybe field cultivate it twice, we'll have to see. But I want to get it disked, get the stuff picked up. I have a guy coming this afternoon to pick up that Ford tractor bumper, so that's gonna throw a wrench into things depending on how long that takes. And then I'd like to get it field cultivated at least today. And I'd like to run over with a color mulcher at least once. But I might also wait till tomorrow to color mulch it. That way when I mulch it the first time, it brings up moisture. We can broadcast the seed on it and then run over it with the mulcher again to pack it all in, and the seed will be sitting in moisture. So we do have a chance of rain later this week, so hopefully. But I'm gonna go grab the disc and we'll see you guys at the field. Alright, we'll get this disked and then I'll explain what all we had going on. But there is lime spread on it. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But last time I disked it, I worked it at an angle like this. Kinda. It's a shallow angle, but it was an angle. So this time I'm going to work it at an angle like this, and then I can field cultivate it straight. So, and like before, I'm just going to leave the wings up because it's not big enough to warrant unfolding the disc and working around that tower and everything. It's easier with the disc folded up. Okay, there's the third pass done. I wish the whole field was like this right here. It'd be a joy. Not too much I'm gonna have to pick up. There's some rock, or some small, like softball sized rocks and stuff scattered, and then a few roots here and there, but the disc actually did a fairly good job of chopping most of that stuff up. But we'll still bring the loader over and make a quick pass over it. You have to kill some time and let the low spot here dry out anyhow, because you want it dry before you field cultivate it. Dry-ish. I don't think it's going to get dry. But as you can see, the pond actually got bigger, which tells you just how long it takes for the water cycle to do its thing, because after we had all that rain, I was still able to get it, our disc, you know, all the way up to it. And now after the ground's dried out and the water's moved its way through the soil profile, it filled the pond all the way up, and it actually overflowed this way a little bit and that way a little bit, and I mean, it basically made the whole pond bigger, is basically where we're at. And then this one must have gone down a little bit, but by the water line it was actually at some point all the way out here, which also doesn't help that right about here was that big ass hole that I filled in. So that soil's loose enough, the water probably ran in, sat here in this loose stuff, and is just kind of hanging out. So that's just, that wet hole is just gonna have to dry out with time. But I got soil tests back on this. Nutritionally, it's not in too terrible shape. The pH was, it'd been a while since I've seen a pH come back that high. It was damn near 7, which hold on a second, sorry about that. If I was just planting straight alfalfa in here, that pH of 7 would be perfect, because alfalfa likes neutral soil. So like 6.8 to 7.2 ish is actually where alfalfa really likes it. The grass that we're putting in with the alfalfa, not so much. So it got 2 ton of lime put on it, and that should bring it back down around 6.5, 6.6, which is on the lower end of what alfalfa likes, but is right where the grass and everything wants to be. So but it needs a little bit of fertilizer, but with the amount of lime that we had to put on it, and with wanting to get this planted and everything, what I'm going to do is just let that lime do its thing over winter, which that's going to release some tied up nutrients anyway, because there's going to be stuff that can't do anything in the soil, because it's the higher the, or a pH of 6.5 was kind of the compromise pH level back when they were doing all their sciencey stuff and figuring out what's the best soil pH for growing crops at. There's actually a lot of charts that you can look at online that are a very good visual representation of most of the macronutrients that we need in the soil, and some of the micros, and what pH levels are actually most available at. And some are more available at higher pH, some are more available at lower pH, some are more available right around that 6.5 mark. So basically what they did was they took all the nutrients, lined them up top to bottom, looked at on a pH scale, looked at where the vast majority of them were going to be most available, drew a line down the center, and it just so happened to end up about 6.5. So like I say, there are some nutrients that are actually going to be a little less available at 6.5. Some nutrients are going to be a little bit more available at 6, but that was the, like, that 6.5, 6.6, 6.7 range. That was the kind of the compromise. This is the best spot to put it at. There are also some crops like alfalfa that like pH that's higher, and there are some crops that like pH that's lower, but that's the 6.5 is kind of the, I guess, the industry standard, if you want to call it that. But anyway, that lime is going to free up some nutrients and stuff as it does its thing over the next few weeks and months. So and it doesn't need a whole lot to begin with. I think it ended up, what was it, I think it needs about 200 pounds of the acre of phosphorus and 100 pounds of potassium, or 100 pounds of potash. So, and basically 200 pounds of DAP, I think is what we, if I remember right. I don't have the soil test report with me, and Lily actually kind of chewed it up a little bit because she found it in the truck, so I'd have to go back and look at it and make sure that one's still intact. So what I'll do is I'll just do like what I did when I planted the other hay field, and I'll come out here this spring when I'm spreading on the row crop ground, and I'll just, that way I don't have to go get a spreader to spread 400 pounds of fertilizer, because that would be damn near impossible. The pile would be so small it would be damn near impossible to accurately spread. So, but we'll run the white back to Mom and Dad's, and I'll have to have somebody run me back to my house because that's where the 1600's at, and we'll grab that and come over here. I might have to hang around the house depending on how long it takes me to get everything shuffled, because I got that guy coming to get that bumper, and then we'll be back after that. And I'll also have to, yeah, that's a nice little rock. I'll also have to set the 3-point up on that for Cat 2 so that we can pick that field cultivator up, but that's a 5-minute job. Okay, real quick while we're here, I'm gonna, before we go get the loader tractor, I'm gonna switch this thing. Oh, I need a bigger socket. Those are 15/16. We're gonna switch this thing over to Cat 2. On these hitches, it's really simple. You just take the sway block bump stop and you flip it over, because this is the Cat 3 landing and this is the Cat 2 landing, and that just lets the 3-point arm suck in further. And then I've got I think I threw them in the toolbox. I got a set of hitch balls with bushings in them to take it down to Cat 2 pins. I think that's what I thought. Dad busted the 15/16 socket a while back, the shallow well one anyway, so we'll use the cheapy ones that you got to be careful of, because the chrome is flaking off, and if you hold the socket wrong you'll cut yourself on the flaking off chrome. Also, this is my sister's dog Tucker. She came home for the weekend, so we have Tucker. He's a good old hound dog. So we just take these bolts loose. And once you get them both flips, now you've got a Cat 2 hitch. As long as you got the bushings to take the balls down to Cat 2, which I do, so. Okay, now we can go get the loader tractor. Dang cobweb. Okay, get the bucket on this thing, and I gotta put fuel in it because according to the gauge, it ain't got none. Actually, I need to get a new sending unit in this, because I think the float is slowly getting fuel logged. I don't know if this stick is deep enough or not. This is my precision fuel checking unit. But I'm pretty sure the sending unit, or the float on the sending unit in this thing is slowly getting fuel logged because there's not a lot in there. The gauge is slowly starting to read goofier. But I don't think it's the gauge, and I can't remember if we ever put a sending unit in this one or not. It's been so dang long. It would have been my freshman year of college that I bought this thing. What is that? That's a possum head. Okay, well, I'm going to take care of that before the dogs get into it. I don't see the rest of the possum. And put fuel in the tractor, and we'll catch you guys here in a little bit, I guess. Alright, get some stuff picked up. I ended up having to hang around the house for a minute, and I ate some lunch because I had that guy coming to get that bumper. Ended up giving me a... Okay, that's still attached. He ended up giving me $100 for it, which was... made me more than happy. Okay, we're gonna have to see if we can... Oh wait, I gotta... Won't do the less destructive way, and I got a chain. We can just throw a chain around that and yank it out rather than digging up a bunch of dirt to try to move it. There must have been a tree there at some point, but there wasn't when I was doing anything, so I must have just uncovered the stump. surprised the plow didn't roll it out of there. But anyhow, I was gonna bring an axe with me in case I had any roots I needed to chop off, and I completely forgot to grab one. So I'll just have to worry about it later. But I'm gonna go ahead and get this done because this is gonna be the boring part, and I'll catch you guys here in a little bit. All right, got everything picked up. Surprisingly, there wasn't too many sticks or roots. Mostly, I was actually surprised the number of rocks I picked up. So after we get it color mulched and planted, probably gonna have to get a rain on it so you can see things and come back and pick rocks again, because I mean they were, you know, rocks. But should be good to go get the field cultivator now and see if we can't get her leveled up. Real quick before we go get the field cultivator, I wanted to look at this and it kind of confirmed my suspicion. I think we're gonna have to let her sit one more day before. Yeah, that's still pretty green. I didn't figure it was gonna dry down that good in one day. Yeah, so we'll plan on raking this tomorrow and probably baling Monday. It's nice looking hay though. I just had a guy on a video mowing this tell me that I should have hauled in a couple tandem loads of dirt to fill in this low spot so that I wouldn't be having all the loss. What the hell are you gonna do with a couple tandem loads of dirt? Put an inch of coverage down here at the bottom? I don't know what that's gonna gain you. You're gonna need I bet to get this level with the top up there, I bet you're looking at least 30 semi-loads, not tandems, semi-loads, to even be remotely close to getting level. And you're probably looking at, to get all that hauled in, 7-8 grand worth of fill dirt and topsoil. Some people are just, they don't need to have an opinion. They're just, yeah, anyway. On to the field cultivator. And you thought a 12-foot disc looked ridiculous behind this thing, and try a 14-foot 3-point field cultivator. But it'll get the job done. So I couldn't get the field cultivator to go all the way down. It's like, what the heck? So I walked back here and look. The dang draft link broke. That's supposed to be connected. So I guess we're gonna have to run back to the house real quick and see if I can fix that. Doggone it. So here's what we got, and this ordeal I think is partially, well, it's definitely partially my fault. There's a stop bolt that's supposed to go in here that stops the 3-point draft linkage from being able to rock back, or yeah, be rocked back too far, which would overextend the draft link that way. And I noticed that bolt was part way out when I was doing the hydraulic pump, but at the time we were in the middle of fitting ground and I didn't have time to screw with it, and I completely forgot about it. Well, apparently when I got the field cultivator hooked onto it, it fell all the way out. So I think that let the draft linkage overextend, probably at some point when I was bouncing down the road, and it snapped that draft link and that bolt fell out and yada yada yada. So now we got to fix that. Okay, so we're really lucky that this is a Cat 3 hitch, because on the Cat 3 hitch this shaft does go all the way through the rear end, but there is nothing inside the rear end like there is on a Cat 2. So this side link is just on a spline held on with a nut, because we need to move this over so that we can get a tap up in that hole to fix those threads. So the way this is set up, we were able to do that without losing any oil out of the rear end. So we'll have to be careful, because it'll probably go right on the edge, because it is dribbling just a hair. But run a tap up in there, chase some threads out, get a bolt in it, and then we'll see what we can do about that broken link. Alrighty, got that lift link replaced. Naturally it was cast iron, so it couldn't be welded, at least not with anything we have here. If you had cast iron rod and a forge so you could preheat it and yada yada yada, we probably could have welded it, but we don't have any of that stuff. But able to steal one off the 2255, so I'll have to get one coming to replace the one that we stole. So we're good there. And then I had to run into town and get a new bolt to replace that one, because naturally that has to be 9/16, not something normal, so we didn't have one around. And now the hitch goes all the way down like it's supposed to again, so hopefully we're good. We'll probably have to take this thing apart at some point before fall and take that bolt back out, because there's actually supposed to be, and I didn't realize it until I got it all together, there's supposed to be a cross hole drilled in the bolt, and then that little tab hanging off the rear axle housing right there has got a hole in it, and once you get it set, you're supposed to run a piece of lock wire through it so that it can't fall out. And since it's grade 8, I don't want to try to hand drill it. I'd rather have it in the mill so that we can, you know, not bust a bit off. So, but should be simple enough. I'll just be curious to see if this, or if the lower shaft seals in this thing start becoming leaker since we disturbed it. I mean, it's dried up since I cleaned it all up, so we'll see. But anyway, let's go get hooked back up and see if we can't get that field taken care of yet tonight. Okay, we're back where we started. It's actually in the ground now, so it's so close coupled, it's hard to get a good angle on it from the cam. Okay, that's done, thank God. I was starting to wonder there for a second. Is that that's off rebar. I don't see any flat tires, so that's good. Guess I'll put this over with the other rebar. Don't have a way to carry it with me. Maybe I can shove this in the toolbox. That could have been bad. Good enough. So let this dry out overnight. Give it a little bit of time first thing in the morning. Get some daylight on it. And I don't see anything else hanging. That field cultivator made it look really nice. Run the mulcher over it with the tines just scratching, which everything's broke up enough. We should be able to run the mulcher with the tines down and not have to worry about plugging. Because all these little sod chunks should flow right through, I would think. If they make it through the field cultivator, they should make it through that mulcher just fine. And mulch it and broadcast it and mulch it one more time and we'll be off of it. So, man, that made it look nice. Definitely gonna have to walk it again after we get it planted and get some rain on it so that it washes the dirt off, because I did see some more rocks floating around, but cross that bridge when we get to it. So anyhow, I'm gonna get home and like I say, we'll give her a little while to rest in the morning with some sunshine on it to finish drying out and give that low spot. I don't know if that low spot's ever gonna dry out all the way, but we'll give it a little bit of time. And so I guess to keep me off of it first thing in the morning and try to, because otherwise I'm going to try to go on it. So I'll put this video together in the morning. That'll give me something to do to keep me from trying to come out here first thing. So we'll hopefully get this planted tomorrow and get hay raked. So we'll see how things play out. So that's it for this one. We'll catch you guys on the next one.